At the beginning of the US-Iran war, Iran was using a victory denial strategy. That is, we may not be able to defeat America, but we will not accept defeat either. In 2 weeks, Iran did not concede defeat. Instead, it pushed America back. But in the last 24 to 48 hours, Iran has written a new chapter in the book of war strategy. Today, Iran is overpowering America. Today, America appears more desperate than Iran. Today, America is talking about a ceasefire. Iran says, what's the hurry? Today, Iran, not America, directs the course of the war and sets the narrative. How did the impossible become possible? Now, just look at how many headlines have come out in the last 24 hours. Iran's rockets haven't run out. In fact, it has started launching even more deadly attacks, whether it's on Israel or on Dubai. Meanwhile, in the Strait of Hormuz, 3 different ships have been set on fire. Now, at this global choke point, the movement of oil has come to a complete halt. As a result, the price of oil per barrel has been threatening to reach $100. After 1 year, Iran doubled the pressure. Bombing on Iran is certainly ongoing, but the USA is rapidly moving its aircraft. First, 15 fighters went, then hard raiders, and now the massive KC-135 stratotanker, including 4 Americans, has now crashed. Confirmation has come that 4 people have been killed. America is saying that it was an accident, but in Iraq, an Iran-backed group is claiming responsibility for shooting down this aircraft. On one hand, Trump is shouting loudly that we have won the war. At the same time, he also wants to talk about a ceasefire with Iran. But Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is now setting tough conditions. That even before talking, you will have to do this, this, and this, so it doesn't seem like Iran is in any hurry. Meanwhile, the American media is exposing Trump every day regarding ending this war. First, it became clear that the Trump administration had not even planned for the possibility that Iran would blockade the Hormuz. And now it is being revealed that at least 170 American soldiers have been injured in Iran's attack. Some of them are in quite serious condition. They were quietly taken to Germany without informing anyone. For medical treatment? About 4 years ago from today, when Russia launched an attack on Ukraine from 3 sides, President Putin publicly stated his goals, explaining why he did this. His goals were the denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine, but everyone knew the real objective. In reality, it was to keep Ukraine away from NATO militarily and to install a puppet regime there, to put his own figurehead in place. His calculation was quite clear. Ukraine would surrender quickly. He thought he would achieve a quick victory and Putin's stature would rise. Perhaps that's why Putin didn't even declare it a war. He called it a special military operation. Now it's been 4 years, and that military operation is still ongoing. And despite all the difficulties, Zelensky has not given in. It seems America didn't learn anything from this story because on February 28th, together with Israel, it launched a deadly airstrike on Iran. They wiped out the entire Iranian leadership. The objective here was very similar. As soon as Iran's top leadership is eliminated, there will be a regime change and America will get access to plenty of oil. But after 14 days, even American experts are now admitting that bringing about a regime change in Iran has become even more difficult. Not only that, within just 2 weeks, America's Operation Epic Fury is now being called Operation Epic Blunder. The stated war goals were not achieved. In fact, the opposite happened. There is chaos around the world over oil and petroleum products. Even the US Navy has thrown up its hands. They are saying, brother, we can't guarantee safe passage for oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz from here. It's beyond our capability. It's too risky. Meanwhile, Iran has now issued a warning to America. If any harm comes to our oil infrastructure now, we will target all oil infrastructure across the Middle East. And now even the American radar is no longer there to protect the Gulf nations. Now even the Gulf nations themselves are upset with America. In fact, for dragging them into this war, the losses they suffered are a separate matter. But how did it happen that America neither planned for the ammunition nor for Iran's blockade? What kind of arrogance was it living in? In today's episode, how did this very arrogance, this overconfidence of America, become its downfall? Has Operation Epic Fury turned into Operation Epic Blunder for Trump? How did the biggest mistake of his life allow Iran to completely turn the tables? Why is Trump now looking for an exit ramp? And what is the most interesting thing? What is that one thing, that ultimate weapon, that one masterstroke which Trump can still use to win the war? Donald Trump is saying that America has already won this war. Not just once, but repeatedly he claims that they have destroyed Iran's navy, destroyed their air force, destroyed their leadership. Everything's going to be fine.
And you never like to say too early that you've won. We won in the first, our war was over.
Now, regardless of the various things Trump claims, the reality is that America has once again embarked upon a war that might take weeks, months, or even years to end. Trump is saying that America had already successfully won the war within the first few hours. But new reports tell us that America had already lost this war in the planning stages, even before stepping onto the battlefield. In fact, during the planning phase of this war, American and Israeli officials thought that if they removed Iran's top leadership, Iran would collapse. Without its leaders, it would not be able to fight. There, the opposition would protest and America would quietly install a puppet regime. This was the biggest arrogance or miscalculation of this war, you could say. Iran did not turn out to be Venezuela. But an even bigger mistake was the planning, or rather, the lack of planning regarding the Strait of Hormuz, with multiple leaks from the White House. Leaks? You are confirming that Trump's National Security Council did not take Iran's capability seriously at all. It can shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They didn't even calculate how long it could keep it closed. At the Pentagon, these worst-case scenarios were treated as secondary considerations. Meaning, considering what Iran might do at the world's most critical oil choke point, which passes right along Iran's border, and calculating that was made optional. Because apparently everyone else is a fool. Only Trump and America are smart. Classified Congressional. In the briefing, the Trump administration admitted that if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, America has no concrete plan how to reopen it. Their belief was that closing Hormuz would actually harm Iran more, so Iran wouldn't do it. But for China, the Strait of Hormuz remains open. The money for oil is still coming from China. Today, Iran is harassing other countries, including India. But it is still taking money from China. This could be the biggest backfire of this war for America. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, becoming the new supreme leader, a man who is close to the IRGC, a man whose entire family was wiped out by the US and Israel, and who is now determined to take revenge. In his very first address, he made it absolutely clear that he will not bow to American pressure. At the same time, the Gulf nations have been given a direct warning to immediately remove American bases from their territories, or else they will continue to be targeted. Iran may not be able to confront America directly, but it is working to break America's financial backbone. It is trying to sow discord among America's allies. It is targeting America's interests in the Gulf. For example, when America targeted Iran's bank, Iran put all American banks in the Gulf on notice, warning them to be ready for missile attacks. There was chaos in the financial sector. The most important thing is that Iran is not playing defense in this war, but offense. You can clearly understand this from the Iranian president's ceasefire conditions. Do you think this country is going to back down? Listen to the conditions they've set. Even if you want to negotiate, first you must do these three things. Number one, you have to recognize Iran's legitimate rights. Basically, it means that we have the right to develop our peaceful nuclear capabilities. The second condition is that war reparations must be paid. That means the damage Iran suffered because of the war will have to be compensated by America. Condition number 3 is firm international guarantees against future aggression, and those guarantees must be in writing. The Iranian military is nothing compared to America's, but even so, look, it is negotiating with America from a clear position of strength. If its demands are met, that's fine. Otherwise, the new supreme leader has already announced that he will definitely avenge the blood of the girls killed in Manab. So basically, making America back down inside Iran is an old story now. Today, Iran is saying there will be no compromise, no negotiation. If Iran's demands are met, that's fine. Otherwise, Iran is ready to open this war on a new front. A front that even Uncle Trump never imagined. The most epic blunder of Operation Epic Fury isn't on the war front. It's on the global economic front. After the closure of Hormuz, oil prices have reached nearly $100 per barrel. Tankers are unable to operate. Shipping companies don't want to put their people and assets at further risk. Gulf nations, which are already being targeted, are now reviewing their sovereign wealth funds. 3 major GCC economies, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait, have started reviewing their trillion-dollar investments in America. If this happens, if they start pulling their money out of the American economy will fall into an even deeper crisis. The US military has also informed the shipping industry that it is unable to escort Navy tankers. The Energy Secretary herself confirmed on CNBC that the American Navy is not ready. Military assets are all engaged in offensive operations. Destroying Iran's capability is the priority right now, not defensive operations like protecting trade routes. Meanwhile, the ships that were still trying to cross the Hormuz were set on fire by Iran. And it's not just the Hormuz. Iran has also made it clear that they will block any alternative routes as well. Now, in the midst of all this, what is the Trump administration doing? In desperation, steps are being taken that you would never have imagined before. For years, sanctions were imposed on Russia, and because of that, tariffs were forced upon India. Now, the whole world is being told, go ahead, buy oil from Russia, the same Russia that is fighting against America in Ukraine and providing information to Iran against America. Now, because of this war, Russia will be able to sell 130 million barrels of oil in just 1 month and make a huge amount of money. Of course, it's a different matter that the capacity to process this oil is not unlimited around the world. The refineries around the world are optimized to refine metallist crude, and this solution only partially solves the core problem. This is not a complete solution. According to Reuters, anger against America is now rising even in the Gulf states. Because even though this war may have been started by the US or Israel, it is the Gulf states that are suffering the most damage from it. They are unable to sell their oil and gas. According to a report by the Financial Times, there has already been a loss of $15 billion. Remember, these are the states that have been outsourcing their security to America for years, that have relied on US protection, and now the US is unable to protect their airports, sports, oil, and other installations. And it is no secret that America is so heavily focused on protecting Israel. So much so that it cannot even protect Gulf nations from any missile attacks. It simply cannot focus its attention in that region. People there can see this difference. Iran has understood two things here. First, that it has been enduring sanctions for decades, so this economic turmoil is not going to trouble it much. The economic flux that's happening, the market is collapsing. Their condition was already bad, but the world won't be able to endure this war for more than a few months. Iran has understood this. Secondly, today Iran has both a geopolitical and geographical advantage. After the attack by America, in which Iran's leadership, civilians, and even young girls were targeted, today there is no one in a position to stop Iran, nor is anyone in a position to negotiate with them. And if Iran itself decides to stop this conflict, then Israel and the United States will once again have the necessary time to prepare more advanced weapons and attack Iran once more. That is why Iran wants a permanent solution to be found here so that America can be driven out of the region entirely. If someone had predicted 2 weeks ago that America would be calling for a ceasefire and Iran would be refusing, you would have laughed, and so would I. But one thing I have learned from war, whether it's Ukraine or Iran, is that you should never underestimate any power. That big mistake which America made. And another thing is that the pot of lies America has been filling is now overflowing. So many planes have been lost. Those 3 F-15S that went down were due to friendly fire. The KC-135 was a mid-air collision, and the MQ-9 high-tech drone crashed due to a technical malfunction. By the way, the IRGC has also claimed that their ballistic missiles have hit the USS Abraham Lincoln. America has repeatedly denied this, but the truth is that Iran has put America in a situation within just 2 weeks that it could never have imagined. Almost all American bases in the Middle East have now been attacked. More than 150 to 170 American soldiers have been injured, and the deaths of 12 have been confirmed. In just the initial days, America has already incurred expenses of over $20 billion. In addition, the air defense systems and billion-dollar radars have been damaged and are now out of action. Years' worth of ammunition stockpiles have now been depleted, and the humiliation doesn't end there. Iran's foreign minister is tweeting to inform the world that Iran had recently offered 9 nuclear weapons to America. But Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, couldn't understand the deal, because understanding this deal was beyond his capability. Trump has filled his administration with such unpredictable individuals that Iran's government seems more stable and more sensible in comparison. Perhaps that's why Trump now wants to get out of this complicated quagmire. Trump has repeatedly said in various media interviews that the war will finally end soon. This is a short excursion. However, he hasn't given any timeline. On the other hand, Israel, which wants a little more time to win this war, knows that Trump is facing increasing domestic pressure. Republicans have now started to worry about the midterms. Americans are already troubled by gas prices, and with the war continuing every day, the cost of war for America is going to increase. Now, the growing concern is that, out of desperation, America and Israel might do something highly unpredictable. As Trump is becoming increasingly unpopular due to the Iran war, his administration has started discussing the possibility of a probable terror attack. A narrative is currently being established among the public that they have received specific information about Iranian leaders activating a sleeper cell on US soil and that there could be an attack in America, on a scale comparable to that of 9/11. Today, with Trump being as unpopular as he is, if a major terror attack were to happen at such a time, if such a major attack happens on the country's own soil, then the entire nation will surely unite behind him, and Donald Trump will be able to get out of this serious trouble. Independent voices in America have already started saying that, boss, this could be a false flag operation, and that American lives could be lost just to save Trump's political future.
You need troops, boots on the ground, American boots on the ground, and there is zero appetite for that in the administration, much less in the country. Israel would obviously like a round trip, but what would it take to do that? It would probably take some sort of terror attack in the United States.
One terror attack, and America will have an excuse to send its soldiers into Iran, to put boots on the ground inside Iran. By the way, the soldiers are ready. The plan is ready too. All that's needed is a trigger. Now, whether that trigger is real or a false flag. At this point, perhaps it doesn't matter anymore to the leadership of America and Israel. You must have heard the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. We've already shown you evidence about how Israel has used false flags. Now, the only thing to watch is how low Trump will stoop in his desperation. History is full of examples where a country's leadership, out of overconfidence, has severely underestimated another country. But the result of this miscalculation is always the same: humiliation, an economic disaster, and a brutal war whose duration no one can predict. And looking at Trump, it doesn't seem like he is going to quietly accept his defeat or withdraw from the stage like a mature adult. His statements on Truth Social are becoming increasingly desperate. Now he's started making all sorts of nonsensical statements. He's even started threatening the Iranian team that's coming there to play in the World Cup. In yet another social media post, he is seen openly celebrating the killing of Iranian people. To expect that someone like this individual would quietly accept defeat and withdraw might be a bit too optimistic for most of us to believe.